Guys, don't look at me. Look at this. That's the BitFenix Shogun, brand new case, and this thing is fancy aesthetically, and it's got a lot of options under there. They call it super mid-tower case because you can fit an eATX in this, even though it is not the biggest enclosure on the planet. Speaking of the size, this is 250 by 565 by 525 millimeters. The weight is 14.15 kilograms. Now, let's talk about the aesthetics on the outside, since you guys are getting a look at that right now. You can see we have an interestingly diagonal sort of window here, and this is not acrylic, it is tempered glass. So it's going to be a fingerprint magnet. Oh no, I've just printed it up. But it's also going to look really nice. And they've gone with sort of a uniform look all the way around. All the sides are pretty, even as far as the style goes. Up here in the front we have our, air intakes. So that's kind of interesting. And then on the back we also have that, but they're not really used as much. We have that, and then on the top you can see we have this bent metal. By the way, this is ABS plastic, steel, and also aluminum, so all the different materials in there. But see, we have this rolled metal on top, and beneath that we're going to have some fan intakes here all the way across the top. Now let's move on down to the bottom, where we have the exact same thing. The rolled metal here, and then air intakes in the bottom. Now, as far as air intakes go, yeah, you got fans in there, and we do have a dust filter here. Unfortunately, the dust filter is on the back and it's small. I much prefer the ones that are, mounted on the front, because when you got one that's mounted on the front, it's much easier to get to. This one, if you want to clean it, you're gonna have to move it. If it's, against the wall or under your desk, you'll have to sort of finagle it to get this out, but it shouldn't be too big of a deal. All right, let's take a gander at the front. Now, very sleek and uniform all the way down. And then we have the BitFenix logo here. Not much fancy going on here, but check this out. We have this spot here that looks like it's for a 5 1/4 bay, but there's no 5 1/4 bay in there. This is really going to be for people who want to mod. So let's just pop this off. It comes off very easily, but it stays on nice and tight. So beneath here you can see we have these little folded metal things that hold that in place. I guess if you wanted to do some modding or wanted to put something in there, maybe a panel that controls, I don't know, LEDs or something that, fan controller or something like that, you could pull this out and probably mount something in there, but as it comes, it's not really made for a 5 1/4. Now, as far as the fan capacity in the front goes, well, you can mount a couple 120s or a couple 140s. We have the slotted holes for each of those, which is nice because you can slide them up and down. And this will be really handy when you're mounting your radiators, and it'll do a 240 or a 280 right up here in the front, and you can slide it up and down. You probably have to mount your radiator on the other side of this, but you can do that, and you'll have to move some things around as far as the cages goes. But hey, you can make it work if you really want to. Scroll across the ports on the top here. Headphone, mic, 2 USB 2.0. Nice tactile button there. Oh yes! 2 USB 3.0, reset, and then LED controls, and then you can see sort of under there where the the intakes are for the fan, all that stuff. All right, let's look at the back before we get it naked. So looking at the back here, you can see we have this lip. It's sort of recessed in there, just mainly for aesthetics, hide your cables and that sort of thing. Get your fan here. It'll do a 120 or a 140, and then it can do radiators of those sizes as well. If you want to mount, single fan radiators back here, you can do that. Now right here you've got a little honeycomb vent, and when you're building your case, I always like to experiment with blocking this off, because it's not about how much air comes in there, it's about net air displacement. And sometimes if you don't have a vent and you've got this coming, in the front and out the back exhausting, sometimes that's going to be better. So experiment with your temps with this blocked off and with it open. It's just depending on what sort of a build you do in your system as to how good your airflow is going to be. All right, and then we also have the spot on the bottom here for mounting your power supply, and there are some rubber dampening feet on the inside that you'll see, so it sets on top of that. It's not sitting on the case itself. Now on the back here, this is also tempered glass, mainly for the style, but you cannot see through it because that would be dumb. You'd see all your stupid cabling and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and take this off, and we'll go ahead and get this thing nice and naked. So as you can see on the inside of this tempered glass here, it's just blacked out. So it gives you the nice tempered glass look. This is dangerous, but it's blacked out. Rubber on this. A little rubber, it's hard to see, but there's also rubber here, so everything's dampened nicely. Let's take a look behind the motherboard. We're doing things backwards, we're not going to look inside, we're going to look behind it first. All right, so behind here you've got 25 millimeters right here to mount or route cables, and it's also nice and deep, just like Deepak Chopra. But see, what the fuck's wrong with me? You put this in here, and you shove all this shit here. Yes. And up here we've got some nice Velcro straps to tie things down for cable routing, lots of rubber grommets, and then we've got 2.5 inch drive mounting slots right here. I'd rather mount an SSD than a 2.5 inch mechanical drive because vibrations and that sort of thing for these little spots might be weird. Whatever. Up here at the top we've got plugs for some fan controls. You can plug that in right there in the back. play with that to your heart's content, or you can just unplug these and plug them into the motherboard, but you know, it's whatever you want in your happy little world. Now, let's take a look at these trays for the hard drives. We got the plastic trays, you know, and they just bend and flex. Yeah, nothing really to worry about here, but this is toolless for your hard drives. So you just open them up like that, and then these little things will slide into the side of your hard drive. You can also mount 2.5-inch drives here, and then you just slide it back in there. Yes. Yeah, now we can do 6 hard drives over here. We can do the, 6 2.5-inch or 6 3.5-inch. Now, one little secret they don't tell you in the book, but it'll probably work in here with some minor discomfort, is that as long as your SATA cable can reach under there, you should be able to mount one of these on the bottom and then mount a 3.5-inch on the top and then hook them both up. See, the screws will be flat there. It's a little stupid and a little dangerous. I would probably run it the other way and have this coming out the front. But you'll have to have a slim drive and then route your cables that way, and it's going to be a little ugly in the front. But you know what, if you want a stupid amount of 3.5-inch and 2.5-inch, you could probably do something ridiculous like that. But that's not what it's intended to do, old chap. This is pretty much on the back. Nice large window here. Let's go ahead and turn it around and take off the glass on the other side. Now that we got the side panel off, we can see what's going on here. First thing that you're going to be greeted with is this sort of area that's going to do something nice. It's going to shield all your cable junk that's going on back here. But this is also a spot where you can mount 2 more SSDs, and there are RGBs in here. And it's compatible, if you plug it into your motherboard, it's compatible with the Asus Aura, but it'll also work with some other things. And there's little rubber dampening things on all the screw holes. So this is a nice little area here. Speaking of nice, look at all this. Oh yeah. That's like velvety felt rubber. Oh yeah. So you can remove all these things easily with these thumb screws, or you can leave them in depending on what you're going to install. Now, here, see this? Yeah. These are supports for large, heavy GPUs that put stress on your PCI Express brackets. Now, we've got motherboards that are doing the reinforced PCI Express brackets. Now we've got cases that are doing supports, and this is just a really cool little way to support your graphics card so your motherboard's not overly stressed. As far as your graphics cards go, you can fit a 410mm graphics card. Power supply down on the bottom, you can fit a 250mm power supply. And then the CPU cooler, you can use up to 175mm tall CPU cooler in here. So earlier I mentioned that this thing, it supports ATX, micro ATX, ITX, and all that, but also it supports eATX, and I mentioned that. How do you fit that in here? Well, you're going to need this. You're going to need to move these grommets over. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to remove some of these brackets here, and then you'll be able to put this in here and then use your eATX motherboard. It's sort of a head scratcher to me because you're going to have to remove things in order to use an eATX, but usually when you're using an eATX, you want more stuff. You want more hard drives. You just want more stuff in your system. So having to compromise to get the bigger motherboard in there is kind of a head scratcher unless you wanted to run multiple CPUs or have multiple sockets or something like that. I guess you could do that in here. And you still have room, plenty of room to mount lots of SSDs all over the case, front and back, and different spots. So strange option, but hey, eATX in a small case. So up in the top here, you can fit 2 140s or 3 120s. So as far as the radiators go, you can fit a 280 or a 360. So nice radiator capacity up top there. Now there's a little bit of mesh up here, but this is not removable, so there's no removable filter on top. If you want to clean those things, you'll have to take the entire case apart and mess with it without, no filter to come out. So there's that. So what we have here with the Shogun is a case that has lots of options. Aesthetically, it's going to be pleasing to some because it's very similar on the front and the back. I like the fact that they did the tempered glass on both sides. Gives it sort of a uniform look while it may raise the cost up a little bit. For your money, you're getting something decent. I think that there could have been, more modularity, but it's got a decent amount of modularity already. Really, it's going to be about the size, the fact that it's got a lot of premium fixtures, dampening here, there's dampening here. Everything is put together nicely. It's solid. Would I build in it? Yeah, I'd build in it. So, and I think we may actually throw a build in here, one of our Xeons, and just see how it runs, see how it looks. So that's the quick overview on this case. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Also, check out our store. It's so awesome that you're gonna weep for weeks. All right, see you guys in the comments. Discord and all that other crap. Twitter, stalk us, whatever. All these things you gotta say.
Chatterbait.
Chatter, what's that? Wondering on the conversion rate, 14 kilograms is 80 pounds. That's British pounds. It's expensive. 14 kilograms is equal to about 4 hours also. So this thing weighs 4 hours in the US. There's US hours, so they're divisible by 12. We're on Chatterbait, guys.